Hello there, you fine looking person you. This is Chris from TechSpert and I'm here with two of the biggest Samsung smartphones of 2019. Actually just two of the biggest smartphones of 2019. The Galaxy S10 Plus here on the left and the Galaxy S10 5G here on the right. Now confusingly, the S10 5G is actually bigger than the S10 Plus. It's basically the S10 Plus Plus, and some of the specs and other features are slightly different as well. So what I'm going to do is a full side-by-side comparison between the S10 Plus and the S10 5G to see exactly what the difference is and which one might be best for you. And for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So the first obvious difference between the S10 Plus and the S10 5G is the dimensions. The S10 Plus is already obviously a bit of a whopper at 6.4 inches, but even that looks like relatively compact compared to the 6.7 inch S10 5G. As far as comfort levels, usability, things like that are concerned, though, very little difference between the S10 Plus and the 5G. As you can see, they are very hand-filling, so you will struggle to use them one-handed in standard form at least. Thankfully, Samsung has chucked in a one-handed mode, which you can eventually activate like so. That just shrinks everything down. You can then just about reach up to that notifications bar and such forth. Pretty comfortable to clutch handset in both cases as well. Of course, that screen does pretty much stretch edge to edge, does actually curve around the left and right edges, so thankfully there's no unnecessary bezel action, and yeah, thanks to those rounded corners and everything as well, a nice comfortable grip too. They are quite hefty though. The 5G model here weighs 198 grams, which is heavier than the standard S10 Plus, although you can get the S10 Plus in a ceramic version which weighs exactly the same, 198. Of course, the standard S10 Plus and the S10 5G both come with Gorilla Glass as their finish. You get Gorilla Glass 6 front and back here on the S10 5G. Nice and durable, no sign of scratching or anything like that. Whereas on the S10 Plus, it's actually only Gorilla Glass 6 around the front. Here on the back, it's Gorilla Glass 5. Still seems absolutely fine though. I've had this for a couple of months now. No signs of scratches or scuffs or anything, so touchwood is doing the job fine. You do actually have a pre-installed screen protector here on the S10 5G as well, which you can hopefully make out there. So extra protection there, whereas you don't get that here on the S10 Plus, or at least my review model didn't come with one. The good news is you got full IP68 dust and water resistance with both the S10 Plus and the S10 5G, so no worries if you accidentally drop them in the toilets, the baths, something like that. It's all good. And also in terms of the color choice, you get slightly more choice here on the S10 Plus. You can pick it up in white, black, or the range of prism colors as well. There are more colors emerging all of the time, and of course that ceramic version as well. Whereas on the S10 5G, you've got a choice of 3 colors. Unfortunately, you've got this silver finish, which is basically just like a mirror, and you can also pick it up in black or gold. And yeah, you will want to keep a snot rag or something handy to give them a good buffing every now and then, because they are absolute filth magnets. Now, every last member of the Galaxy S10 family, all the way down to the S10e, sports a gorgeous dynamic AMOLED display of Samsung's own construction. So the S10 Plus, the S10 5G, very, very similar screen. The only real difference between it is the size. 6.4 inches here on the S10 Plus, 6.7 inches here on the S10 5G. So there's absolutely zero difference between them in terms of the actual visual output. You got the exact same resolution, Quad HD Plus, so that's 3040 by 1440 pixel resolution. You've got HDR10 Plus support, which is great for a bit of Netflix, things like that. And as you can see, diving into the display settings, exactly the same setup. You've got your blue light filter, your night mode, screen mode. You can choose between natural or vivid. Vivid just gives the colors a little boost and allows you to play around with the temperature. Now you can actually play around with the resolution itself as well. It's set to Full HD Plus by default, but as you can see there, you can bump it all the way up to Quad HD Plus to really take advantage of those pin sharp visuals. As far as the audio goes, you get a stereo speaker setup as well, so via the earpiece and the bottom mounted speaker on both of these smartphones, and it's a nice powerful output. But of course, if you're going to be listening to music, you will want to plug in some headphones. Thankfully, both of these smartphones do have a 3.5mm headphone jack down below, so you can just plug in a pair of wired phones and take advantage of that great sound quality. Otherwise, of course, you've got Bluetooth support with full support for the likes of aptX and everything as well. As for the security, no real difference there either. Of course, you've got full facial recognition using those front-facing cameras. You also have an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner built into the display itself, which you can use at any point. As you can see there, you don't even need to touch the power button, just tap your print against the general area where the sensor is, and it takes a nice 3D image, so it's nice and accurate and pretty responsive even when your fingers are a bit damp or a bit gritty. And as far as the software goes, there's absolutely no difference between these two handsets either. They are both run, of course, Android Pie, the very latest version of Android, with a nice bit of Samsung's own One UI slathered on top. As you can see there, One UI version 1.1, so bugger all difference between the two. This means, of course, that here in the settings you get the exact same feature setup, so I'm not going to bother diving into it. If you want to see the best One UI features and everything, I've done a full in-depth look at that, so go check that video out. but yeah, as you can see, absolutely no difference between them at all. The exact same motion, gesture controls. You've got the game launcher feature, which allows you to block notifications and all that kind of shenanigans. You've got digital well-being. It's basically just a digital nanny that tells you how much of your life you're wasting on your smartphone, and everything else. It's all basically the same, and the same set of Samsung apps on there as well, such as the likes of Samsung Health. And there's really no difference between these two when it comes to the performance either. The Galaxy S10 Plus and the S10 5G both sport Samsung's own Exynos 9820 chipset, or if you're in the US and parts of Asia, it'll have Qualcomm's Snapdragon 855 chipset in there as well. Backed by 8 gigs of RAM in both cases, although the S10 Plus also has the option for a 12GB model, which frankly is absolutely bonkers. Now, of course, as you'll hopefully have gathered given the naming of it, the Galaxy S10 5G is the one that supports 5G network, and it's got a special built-in 5G modem. Unfortunately, the S10 Plus will never support 5G as it does not have that modem, so it won't be able to get it in a future software update or anything like that. So if you're thinking of jumping on a 5G contract in the next sort of year or two, this is going to be your only choice. So definitely if you stream a lot of video, do a lot of data intensive tasks, then that's probably going to be your best option. The S10 Plus though still supports really fast 4G, and 4G networks will hopefully become less congested as people move on to 5G, and therefore you should hopefully notice your streaming speeds and all that sort of stuff improving over time anyway. Now, one of the other big differences between the S10 Plus and the S10 5G is the battery size. You actually get a 4500 mAh capacity battery here on the 5G model compared with the 4100 here on the S10 Plus. Now, I found on the S10 Plus, with this Exynos chipset, it'll make it through a full day just about if you do a lot of streaming, basically use it full on. Whereas the S10 5G, even with that same Exynos chipset, I found that that bigger battery does actually help to boost the battery life, and I've never struggled to make it through a full day, even with lots of intensive use, and that's despite the bigger display that it has to power. And more good news on the battery front for 5G owners as well, is it actually supports faster charging. It's 25 watt super fast charging compared with the old 15 watt charging here on the S10 Plus. Both charge up using Type-C USB, and they both support wireless charging as well at 15 watts. I have had a little bit of trouble with the S10 5G charging it up using my Pixel stand charger. It just does not seem to like it at all, whereas I've had no problems at all with the S10 Plus. I'm guessing that's just down to the sheer size of the S10 5G. Maybe it's just not quite connecting properly, so I'd recommend getting a dedicated full-on Samsung Galaxy S10 5G wireless charger if you're going to go down that route. And before I forget, both the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus and the S10 5G support a bit of the wireless power share as well. So what that does basically just shares your battery charge with another Qi standard wireless charging device. It's quite handy if you've got Samsung's Galaxy Buds or an accessory like that that supports the wireless charging. So you can just stick your buds on the back of either of these phones and they will sap some of the battery power. It takes a long time to charge up another phone using this as just a 9 watt charging standard basically. So yeah, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. Bit of difference on the storage front as well. The S10 Plus here comes with 128 gigs as base standard, but you can get a 512 gig model, and if you stump up for that super expensive ceramic model, you can actually get it with a terabyte of storage, and it also supports micro SD up to 512 gigs. However, here on the S10 5G, the base model is 256, and you can get it in that 512 as well, but there's no terabyte option, and unfortunately there's no support for micro SD memory cards either. It's just a single SIM slot here on my review model, and no micro SD slot. As far as the camera tech goes, they are very similar indeed, but there is one key difference in that the S10 5G does pack a bonus time of flight lens, so that's handy for AR functionality, things like that. It basically is a very accurate measurer of distance. Apart from that though, it is the same triple lens setup, so you get a 12 megapixel primary lens with dual aperture, and a 16 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, and a 12 megapixel telephoto. But as you can see here, the general functionality is basically the same. You get exactly the same mode, so you can do your live focus, basically portrait modes. You got full manual controls if you need them, so you can play around. I definitely recommend doing that in tricky lighting conditions because sometimes the auto mode does struggle a bit. You get the full-on Samsung night mode, which is definitely a very worthwhile feature, worth swapping to in low light. On the video front, you can shoot up to 4K resolution video at up to 60 frames per second, which is great stuff. And you also have the option of shooting HDR, and you can even, if you jump into the advanced recording option, shoot a bit of HDR 10 plus video. So that just deals with brightness levels and everything as well, gives you really nice looking contrast in your finished video. And they've both got Samsung's super steady mode as well, which is great news if you're an outdoors lover, you like to film a bit of video as you're cycling along, skating along, something like that. One of the only key differences is the fact that you've got live focus video here on the Galaxy S10 5G, making use of that rear depth sensor. So as you can see there, you don't have that on the standard S10 Plus. So that's good news if you want to do a nice bit of bokeh style effects blurring behind your subject as you're shooting your video. And then if we swap around to the front, it is a slightly different setup there as well. Here on the standard S10 Plus, you get a 10 megapixel front facing camera with an 8 megapixel depth sensor backing it up. So you do of course get the likes of the live focus mode, all that sort of shenanigans. Here in the case of the S10 5G, it's actually backed by another time of flight lens instead of that 8 megapixel depth sensor. So as you can see, once again, you have a bit of live focus video if you want to get that on the go, and of course you've got full control over the blur effect and everything as well, whereas that's something that you do not get here on the S10 Plus. Only really going to affect you if you do shoot a lot of video and you want that sort of bokeh style blurring. And that right there is how the mighty S10 Plus stacks up against the even mightier S10 5G. So which one are you tempted by? Obviously the 5G connectivity is one of the major draws of that 5G model, but as you can see there are a few other little differences here and there in terms of the battery life and things like that. So definitely be great to hear your thoughts down below. Because neither of these phones are particularly affordable per se, so definitely you want to be pretty loaded if you're going to go for either of them. If you're not quite that flush, and this is just more of a curiosity thing, then check out my roundup of the best budget smartphones. I'm going to do a couple more of those over the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for more on that. And please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech. Cheers everyone, love you!